Boy, I'm so excited for this game. I bought all the merch, watched all the trailers, and read all the updates. I even bought the ice cream bar that the ice cream trucks had for some reason. I just can't wait for this game. But what about the fucking ice cream? Canceled video games are a staple of gaming. You make a game, and then you don't. Whether that's due to work conditions, creative differences, or issues beyond that, if there are games, canceled games will forever exist behind it. Or not exist, I guess, because, I mean, that's kind of the whole point of being canceled. And in Sonic's almost 35 years of life support, there have been many games that were pitched, developed, and announced, but ultimately never went gold. So as I'm working on probably my most ambitious video by the time of writing this, I thought, why not simmer down a bit and just kind of yap about this for a few minutes? I don't know what else to talk about. Just go to the video. First category on the list are game pitches. Projects that got pitched to companies but ultimately never actually started development. Like, for example, Sister Sonic. Sister Sonic was a game that did technically release, but as a different game entirely. Sega wanted to localize the game Popful Mail but replace every character with the Sonic cast, and featuring a new main character called Sister Sonic, Sonic's long lost something, I forget. All 4 Popful Mail fans, though, were very angry at this change, so instead, the original game was just fully translated and localized in 1995. The whole thing was pretty much just a failed attempt at the whole, oh, Mario 2 is a localized version of Doki Doki Panic. But you know what you didn't know about Doki Doki Panic is that it's actually a prequel to 2017's Doki Doki Literature Club, and I'm lying. Sonic 16, a spin-off based on Sonic Sat AM developed by the Sega Technical Institute. They were pretty much the Sonic B team in the early 90s and worked hand in hand with Sega of Japan. So when like Sonic 3 was being developed by Japan, STI were making a mess of themselves. You know, on a related note to Spinball, why the hell didn't they use the beta song for the game's intro? Like, just take a listen to this, it's so much better. Oh, fuck, he died. Funny enough, there's a lot of STI game pitches that just never made the cut. Other than Sonic 16, which was canceled for looking boring as shit, just like the show it was based on, my word, not theirs. Treasure Tales, an isometric puzzle platformer starring Tails the Fox. I'm actually a little bummed this game never saw the light of day. I've talked about Tails' only 2 spin-off games in an earlier video, but for what it's worth, I was actually a fan of them. Surprisingly, I was a bigger fan of Tails Sky Patrol than I was of Tails Adventure. I thought that game was super fun to speedrun. So knowing that there was a chance we could have gotten another Tails game, and one for the Genesis for that matter, it just leaves me wanting Sega to finally do something with Tails for once. He's the perfect candidate for more strategic games like puzzle platformers and Metroidvania. Astropede, another STI pitch, was a planned spin-off revolving around a whole new character in the Sonic universe. Who the fuck is Astropede? Why do they think Sega would approve of this? But hey, there's footage. I want my Treasure Tales back. Untitled Sonic STI game for the Sega 32X. That was the name of it. This was going to have Sonic explore an isometric world. It's speculated to have a playstyle similar to both Sonic 3 Blast and Sega Sonic the Hedgehog, but nothing other than this pitch image was made for it. And man, this image really knows how to make 3D Blast look bad, because this looks more like a Sonic game than that game ever did. Sonic Mars, a fully 3D Sonic game made for the 32X. I think nowadays, looking back at this, like, yeah, it was probably a good thing that this game was canned, but with all the footage and pictures we have, it had a really nice charm to it. But due to the Saturn coming out and the 32X not being really able to handle all this ambition, it was ultimately scrapped and reworked into another game we'll get to later. It's kind of sad to see how many attempts STI tried to do with Sonic that ultimately got canned. They really wanted to put their all into the Sonic franchise, but apparently due to some petty behavior that Sega of Japan had, they sabotaged so many of STI's projects. And due to that, I think that's the main source to why most of these projects never saw the light of day. Except for Astropede, though. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking with this one. During this time period, the only non-STI Sonic game that was canned was Sonic Sports for the 32X. It was pretty much just Acme All-Stars, but with fan-favorite Sonic characters like Rystar. and Tails. Moving up to 2006, we had Sonic the Shadow World. This was pitched to Sega by Climax Studios for the PSP. Sonic would have been traveling through a dark, decrepit world that was also the home of his nemesis, Shadow the Hedgehog. Okay, yeah, I see why this never made it past its pitch. That's pretty much it for game pitches. Everything after this had some sort of development into it, including original games as well as sequels and ports. But before we get into the big original stuff, let's take a look at... Hey, you know, it's really mean to cut me off like that. Funny enough, one of the first ever canceled Sonic games was a port of the original Sonic 1 for the Amiga, Commodore 64, Atari ST, and pretty much every console that wasn't Nintendo, all being developed by US Gold. There's not a lot of sources that state the project was ever in actual development, but it was likely scrapped due to Sonic 1 doing super well on its own. There wasn't really much of a need to put Sonic 1 on other consoles because the game alone was selling the Genesis. There were also ports of Sonic 1 and 2 planned for the Sega CD that included updated graphics and music. Again, no source for this ever starting development, but it's believed that the port of Sonic 1 was later turned into Sonic CD, which is debatably better than both games combined, unless you have the thoughts that I do about Sonic CD. Sonic CD is good until you actually play it.
I ain't even here to shoot you, man. Just fuck you, man. What the fuck?
Sonic X-treme. With an E, not an X. I've mentioned this game and its history in another video. Don't watch it, it's really, really bad. But in the middle to late 2000s, extreme sports were a huge thing, and of course, games took that idea and soared with it. And Sonic was no different. Visionscape, the studio behind the CGI cutscenes of Sonic Heroes, made a 1-week-old prototype of a Sonic Tony Hawk-styled game, but with hoverboards, cause fuck skateboards. And when Sega saw this game, they canceled it and stole the idea to make Sonic Riders. Poor little guys got ghosted by Sega in the process. It was actually found in an Xbox development kit and is one of the few playable games in this selection. Granted, it's pretty ass, but that's most Sonic games, so who am I to complain? Also, funny enough, a GBA port of Sonic Riders was supposed to exist, developed by Backbone Entertainment. It was similar to stuff like Outrun, or more thematically Super Monkey Ball Jr., or the Simpsons Road Rage GBA port. Sega of America canceled it, however, after Sega of Japan wanted Riders to be a fully 3D racing game. And honest to God, other than Treasure Tales, this is probably the most heartbreaking discovery to me. I love when GBA games try to be 3D. Super Monkey Ball Jr. is almost as good as the first two games, and for a GBA game that's trying to not only have a 3D environment, but stage tilting as well, that's jaw-dropping. And if the Riders GBA port was going to be anything as ambitious as that, it would probably have been super charming. Sadly, there's no footage or screenshots of the game, so a man can only hope and dream that a prototype will come out someday. I mean, come on, man, Backbone would have been perfect for this. They made Shrek and Roll. Sonic 06 had a whole heap of canceled projects. The most notable one is a Wii port that split the development team in half, but due to hardware limitations, it went on to become Sonic and the Secret Rings. You canceled Slop to make room for more slop. Pick a fucking lane, Sega. A PC port of 06 was also planned, but due to critical reception, that shit was canned immediately. The same can be said for Sonic Unleashed. Logos and icons were actually found in the PC version of Generations files, as well as us having actual footage of the game running on a PC during a GDC tech demo. Look at that demo shine. As of recently though, those issues were solved thanks to recomps of both Sonic Unleashed and Sonic 06. The Unleashed one even uses the assets from the canned installer of the original port. Cute. The 06 recomp is still in major development, but it's really nice to see both projects actually see the light of day one way or another. More interestingly though, there were actually two 06 sequels in development as well. A game focused entirely on Silver the Hedgehog with little to no info on it, as well as Sonic the Hedgehog Awakening. The only thing that we know about this game was that it was in development during the later half of 06's development. And that's all she wrote. The only source of this game existing is Pete Capella's website, aka the Voice of Silver. And since Secret Rings stemmed from 06, I guess this is a good segment to talk about the canceled third storybook game. Sega was testing the waters with fans to see what themes they wanted to see in the third storybook game to complete the trilogy. The options are horror, sci-fi, western, and Greek mythology. And ultimately, Greek mythology won, until it didn't because it never came out. Seeing that we had the chance to get a horror-style Sonic game is admittedly a little sad to me. I would love to see that concept be explored someday in the future. A game that's like Night of the Werehog, but with more oomph to it. Eventually, we did get to see a taste of a Sonic Greek mythology game in Sonic Frontiers, so maybe one day we'll see all these other themes be explored. Until then, I'll just, like, sulk and, I don't know, chewing some Wiimote nunchucks.
Brendan, are you in here? Are you chewing the fucking nunchucks again?
It's called stress eating. They canceled a game I wanted 15 years ago. Sonic 4 Episode 3. It was always known that Sonic 4 was supposed to be a trilogy, but nothing came of it. What? Christian Whitehead, the creator of the Sonic mobile ports, was apparently asked to work with Sega on Episode 3. But the company behind it, Sega Studios Australia, would shut down and Christian Whitehead went on to work on the mobile ports instead. But recently, it was discovered that Episode 2 was going to tease Episode 3 in a big way, with all of us discovering that Knuckles was tricked by Eggman again and the Master Emerald was powering the Death Egg Mark II the whole time. We even have the model of Knuckles for Episode 3 thanks to it. Essentially, we all got the feeling that Woody had after realizing his show got canceled when this leak happened.
Wait a minute, what happened? What happens next? Come on, let's see the next episode!
Speaking of Christian Whitehead though, the Sonic 3 mobile port. There's a proof of concept on the game online, but thanks to copyright issues, Sega was too scared to do anything with it. Not all was lost, however, because Christian Whitehead went on to co-develop Sonic Mania with Headcanon, and the latter would actually develop a widescreen port of Sonic 3 for Sonic Origins. Granted, the music is fucking awful, but that's what Sonic 3 airs for, so all is forgiven. Just stop fucking touching classic Sonic music. Speaking of ports, both Sonic Generations and Mania had canceled ports of their own. A PSP port of Generations was found on a damaged disc, and the only evidence of it existing were a few assets. They're pretty much one-to-one with assets from the 3DS version, so it was most likely a port of that version. There's a lot of rumors as well of a Wii and DS version of the game that was later turned into Sonic Colors, but I don't think those are true. There's not much evidence in either games to show this, and development of Colors immediately started after Unleashed, so I don't know how true this Wii or DS port is. For Mania, however, a 3DS port was in development by Renegade Kid, the developers behind Mutant Mudds, but sadly Renegade Kid shut down and the only way to play Mania is with a modded 3DS using the Mania decomp. Mania 2 was in talks almost immediately after the success of the original. They were even in talks to have Mania 2 be in a 2.5D style and had an unseen prototype of a 2.5D retro engine. But then I guess something happened for the team to move on to Penny's Big Breakaway instead, and eventually that Mania successor became Sonic Superstars. It did use some early ideas of Mania 2 like that 2.5D retro engine, but it's a shame that the game fucking sucks. Alright, that's pretty much it for the big hitters besides one game, but before we spend a bit of time on that, let's speedrun the remaining pile of just bullshit. Sonic Edusoft, an unreleased educational Sonic game developed by Tiertex. The whole game is mostly complete and was pitched to Sega with full hope it would get greenlit. Canceled right after pitch. Sega Sonic Bros, an arcade puzzle game designed by the creator of Bubble Bobble. The full game was finished around 1992, but it did not receive well during location tests in Japan, so ultimately it was scrapped. Sonic has a canceled brother and sister, it seems. Sega Sonic Cotton Candy Scramble, a sequel to Sega Sonic Popcorn Shop. There was only one arcade cabinet of it ever released, so technically it wasn't canceled, it's more so lost media. Sonic DS, ever play Sonic Dash? Imagine that on a DS. Sonic Chronicles 2, adding it here because I fucking forgot it before. Canceled due to the whole Ken Penders suing Sega thing. Plus, Microsoft bought out BioWare right after the first game's release, so yeah. Sonic Crackers, most likely not a canceled game, but more of a tech demo of what would become Knuckles Chaotix. Sonic X Chaos Emerald Chaos. I don't know why this one was listed here. It wasn't a game, it was just a cartridge that had episodes 3 and 4 of Sonic X on it.
Hey, you're not bad for a faker. And you're pretty cute.
And lastly, Sonic Day. A company known as Nitrome pitched a demo version of their game Leap Day, but with a Sonic reskin to Sega. And honestly, I'm also kind of bummed that this one didn't come out either. I never played the original Leap Day, but after seeing this proof of concept, it seemed like an addicting game of some sort. I did hear that the wall running was later used in Leap Day's sequel, so at least something came out of this. Ugh, fuck. I'm done.
Hey, it's me, Canceled Intro's true Brendan character, Green Brendan. You know you forgot about Sonic X-treme, right?
Okay, actually, last but not least, the most iconic canceled Sonic game, and honestly, probably one of the most iconic canceled games altogether. Sonic X-treme. So after Sonic Mars got canceled for the 32X, the team decided to use it as a basis for their first true 3D platformer. And the dev history of this game is just wild, to say the least. The game itself was very public, there were commercials for it, merchandise, a whole ass movie in the works that tied into the game, the fucking ice cream bar, and basically the gameplay was split into 4 different styles. Sonic having 3D platforming, Tails having first-person flying sections, Knuckles having these top-down maze-like stages, and a new character to play as, Tiara Bubowski. She looks like Crash Bandicoot on HRT. Good for her, honestly. But there were many problems with this game, to say the least. For example, Yuji Naka, one of Sonic's founders, forbids Sonic Team to use his 3D Nights engine for the game. Plus, the extreme crunch time on all the devs reported having 16 to 20-hour days with hardly any breaks. Both the lead designer Chris Sen and the lead programmer Chris Coffins got so ill from working on the game that they were warned that they would die within months if they continued working on it. The PC port of the game was working alright, but the Saturn port was all over the place, with some devs reporting that the game would run at like 4 FPS. It had this dog shit fisheye lens. What the fuck is going on here? And to wrap it up, the game just couldn't be finished with any goodwill, and eventually it was cancelled. Apparently they did try to rework the game into a new title called Sonic Saturn, but Yuji Naka shut it down immediately. Which was probably for the best anyway. The game didn't look all that great from previews and leaks, and when we eventually got Sonic's actual first 3D platformer, I think it's safe to say it was much better. And that's like every cancelled Sonic game with public knowledge. Believe me, there must be hundreds of games that are scrapped that we'll never know about. Sonic is a franchise that always has stuff in development all the time, so it's obvious that every now and then something won't fit through the cracks. For example, I've seen rumors of that Sonic Heroes remake floating around apparently getting scrapped in favor for something else. There's also been rumors for years about a Child Garden mobile game, but we haven't gotten a sliver of news about it. That might have been cancelled without us even knowing it truly existed. Maybe one day we'll get to see many more of these lost titles, but for now, I think it's okay not to know what we could have gotten. For the sake of our own health, at least. There's a really big nunchuck chewing epidemic going on thanks to the cancelled Storybook game. Well, guess that's it. Oh yeah, besides Sonic Rumble, that shit ain't ever coming out.